Basketball fans, welcome back. So in this video, I'll be talking about the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. This happened in 2022 and the actual FIBA World Cup qualifiers happened in 2023. So in this long series that we are covering the Kenya Morans, I have looked at the Kenya Morans playing in the FIBA AfroChan 2019, talked about the 2021 AfroBasket qualifiers and the 2021 actual AfroBasket that they played. And there are so many changes that led up into this whole situation in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. So this is a continuation, and there are a couple of things to note. So as I was following up and looking at these videos and looking at the trajectory of the team at the time, there are a lot of changes that happened after the 2021 AfroBasket. Number one, Coach Cliff was brought back after Coach Liz Mills was dishonorably discharged, subsequently leading to Tyler Ongwai quitting the team. All this happened after the AfroBasket. Then when the reports surfaced in January of 2022, when the Kenya Morans were slated to start their preparations for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers in early of 2022, it was February 2022, there was a lot of issues, and especially the off-court issues were the ones that dominated. Some rumors had it that some people are saying it's going to be a fiasco. Yours truly included. I also questioned their preparation tactics and strategies. And looking at them bringing back Coach Cliff, a certified loser coach, things were bound to go sideways very fast. And going sideways they did, because at the month that they were supposed to play, there are a couple of things that happened in the lead up to the games. So the Kenya Morans had a botched training camp, which was 0% successful. We had the same incompetent officials coordinating and facilitating the corruption inside KBF, subsequently leading to the eventual losses of games. Now, the biggest point of note was the preparation, because this is something that has been plaguing the national team a lot. Given the duration in which the Kenya Morans were inactive from September of 2021 to early January 2022, you could see there was a gap of like 4 months where they would have set up and started training, because even the draw of the FIBA World Cup came out right after the AfroBasket, but still nobody cared to even put some seriousness into this tournament, because the FIBA World Cup is a stage that this is the first time Kenya is participating for the first time in a long time. We saw the 28-year hiatus come to a close in 2021 when the Kenya Morans qualified, and the FIBA World Cup was the next challenge. And the teams that were setting up in the FIBA World Cup, these were teams that wanted to compete in the actual FIBA World Cup and also see if they can get a slot in the Olympics. So the only team that took the assignment seriously was South Sudan, because they went ahead and went 6-0. But this video is not about them. It's about the Kenya Morans' poor preparations. Now, when the Kenya Morans team went ahead and traveled to Dakar, Senegal, where the games are going to be held, there was a huge problem with some players on the roster, because there are players who flew in directly from Nairobi, and there are players who flew in directly from other places. They met at the venue, so they didn't even log any training minutes together. So that was the first red flag. And the first domino to fall was the Congo DR game. So this game ended 66-56, and this game, I can say, the team started out decent, but Congo DR always has Kenya's number. Last time the Kenya Morans saw Congo DR was in the AfroChan of 2019, where the Congo DR team brutalized the Kenya Morans. The games were not even as close or even competitive at all. And this subsequently led to them getting their first loss. And I actually thought at the time, even when I was recording videos talking about the Kenya Morans when I was covering them, I actually thought that this was going to be the worst performance that they had, and they were going to try at least bounce back. But I might not have looked at the schedule well, because the next game they were going to play was Egypt. And this game, my God, was one of the worst games the Kenya Morans played. Even I made a post on various social media talking about how the Kenya Morans literally wet the bed on this game. And remember, The coach that is active at the time is Coach Cliff, and we had players who flew in a day before. They didn't even log any minutes, and Coach Cliff, being a very incompetent person when it comes to this type of basketball in this type of stage, did not know how to game plan for any team right now at that point, and it led to a lot of it led to a lot of embarrassment on the court. We were watching this game live, and at some point I felt like, turning off the TV. Even at that point, I even paid for courtside. But anyway, it is what it is. So the game against Egypt was a bloodbath. It was a massacre. We had players scoring 0 points or more. There was not even 0 points or more. There some players went and had just had a dud game. 105-51. Being beat by that margin was very bad for Kenya. And Kenya was at an all-time low. And things got worse because another arch rival that Kenya had was Senegal. And Senegal did not even waste any time. They had their 100-point game while Kenya had 55. And it was just rinse and repeat. And this one marked the lowest point in Kenya Morans basketball. I don't think there's any other low point that I have seen when I was covering the Kenya Morans lower than this. And a lot of times, there's a lot of people who might want to come and defend the Kenya Morans, but the biggest challenge that I've seen is when you ask them what is wrong with the Kenya Morans and why do you think that we have dissenting opinions in this platform. They keep quiet and they say, you have to respect the team, they're representing the country, but it is very spineless for these players to go ahead and play like this and have the worst games possible. And it was not even funny. This game stopped being funny anymore. And it became a mockery in Kenyan basketball, propagated by the corrupt cartels in KBF, Coach Cliff, and the legacy players who refused to leave the team and treat the team as a club. I'm not even leaving the team Morans manager off the hook because she's nothing more than a flower girl. And this performance shows that there were very huge problems, even with the departure of Coach Liz Mills and Tyler Ongwai. This was the worst. This was the worst performance because you lose a very good coach and you lose the best player on the team. The team was bound to fail. It didn't matter if they went ahead and tried the late game heroics. Egypt was stronger. Senegal were better. Even Senegal picked up where they left off in the AfroBasket qualifiers of 2021 and they brutalized us. Egypt, I think they took great exception to what the Kenya Morans did in 2019 to the point where it was just a brutal beatdown. Even the legacy players had nothing. They kept saying and citing experience, all that, but the experience got them nowhere. And we're 0-3 at the time. And the next games were slated to be July 1st to July 3rd. So the Kenya Morans were at an all-time low. Even when they came back like thieves. Nobody even mentioned anything. They were very quiet. When the Kenya Morans win, they do all their media rounds on social media, all that. But when it comes to, when they lose, they're very quiet. You never know even when they're coming back. That's a trend that I've seen happening most of the time. So the Kenya Morans came back to Nairobi with an 0-3 record. Even the plans they had of even proceeding to the next phase were shattered because no team can be able to come back from this type of disappointment. Now, the madness continued because there was no training camp. The team was in total disarray, and fast forward to May, June, July, we just saw the team just act differently. Number one, the government kind of told the federation that you people are on your own. The Ministry of Sports, led by Amina Mohammed, the very incompetent cabinet secretary of Ministry of Sports, came out and said the federations are on their own, they can't cover you. So there was a lot of controversy, and at some point, the Kenyan team or our country will have risked sanctions by Fiba if we didn't qualify, if we didn't go ahead and participate and honor the fixtures. A lot of people had a lot of things to say. They said you don't have to go and participate just to honor the fixtures. So there was an issue even with their ticketing because we saw the team be in a very bad position where they can't even pay for their own tickets. And it led to the worst experience ever for the Kenya Morans, because the government is not on your side. You don't have money. KBF has no money. It's a very poor federation run by corrupt looters. So they don't even have anywhere to turn to. Even the officials are making media rounds, trying to see if they can seek sympathy, but nothing happened. Now, finally, Fiba were able to, for some reason and through some gymnastics, the Kenya Morans were cleared to fly to Cairo, Egypt, where the games are going to be played. And this one, they went very short-handed. They went only with 8 players. And Coach Cliff was not even available at this time. And Coach Guy was the one who took the reins of the team. Now, with all that turmoil, and with all the things that went on in the build-up towards the event, it was a total disappointment because of the late financing that will have facilitated the Kenya Morans to go ahead and play. The Kenya Morans found themselves have a walkover against the Congo DR game. So a walkover was given, and this was the first ever walkover I've seen happening to Kenya. And it was because they couldn't get there to the venue on time. I've seen a couple of walkovers when KPA were not able to play against the City Oilers in the Road to Battle 2019. But this one was the worst because it happened in 2022 and they were slated to play. It's like they didn't know how to play. And the thing that was puzzling was the Commonwealth Games were a month prior. But there was no money to facilitate the Kenya Morans, where the Commonwealth Games were a month prior and the team 3x3 went. But hey, it is what it is, priorities. So the team, when they got late, they missed that game against Congo DR. So they had to play against Egypt again and Senegal. Even analyzing these videos would not even have made any sense because Kenya got brutalized by Egypt again. 72-39 was the final score. And their games were the last games in the tournament. And Kenya versus Senegal. Senegal just continued with their brutal beatdowns. 86-54 was the final score. So at this point, it marked the lowest point in Kenya Morans basketball. I can even say 2022 will go down as the worst year in Kenya Morans basketball history, because whatever momentum that they built through the years, 2019, 2019, the Afro-Chan finishing with silver, 2020 when they made the Afro-Basket through the pre-qualifiers early, 2021 they qualified, then 2022 everything just went downhill due to poor management, lack of ability to be able to get players or even get facilitation or even be a reputable team and league. There was a lot of disappointment to go around, and this was the lowest point. And at some point, it reflected very poorly on us as Kenyans, because we could see other teams were succeeding. A team like South Sudan, a team that has been brought back to life by Luol Deng, we were in the same boat as them, but because of our poor management and our lack of ability to attract quality sponsors was the reason as to why Kenya got embarrassed like that. Rentco sponsored the Kenya Morans in the 2021 Afrobasket. Why is it that they were left high to dry? They were left high and dry when Kenya Morans played in the FIBA World Cup, because nobody believed in their team, and the corruption cases were too much, and the scandals were too much. Losing coach Liz Mills and losing Talongwe came out and said, I don't want to play for the team anymore. I don't like this. We are not even taking the team seriously. There are a lot of jokes. There was a mutiny that ousted coach Liz Mills, which I covered, and the legacy players with their arrogance said that they felt like Coach Liz Mills was sidelining them, and they felt like they owned the team. So there's a lot of things I can say, and it was one of the worst experiences ever. And 046 was the worst, and the only green spot, or the bright spot, was Kennedy Wajira making his debut, but he made his debut at the worst point in Kenya Morans basketball, being subjected to the worst environment to play, and you're expected to thrive. It was never going to happen. The Kenya Morans went from July 1st to July 3rd, 2022 to play in the second window of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. It was nothing more than just to honor the fixtures. That's it. They did not go there to win. They did not care about winning. And since then, they have just been mediocre. Since 2021, the Kenya Morans have been mediocre. And after this, they brought back Coach Cliff for some odd reason. And it was just rinse and repeat from there. So that's a recap of what really happened. And it was very disappointing, to say the least, because if you are there to experience the whole thing, you would you will not like these people at all. And it's the main reason as to why there's this call to action for disbanding of the Kenya Basketball Federation, because they have failed in their mandate and they have ruined the sport and they have run basketball to the ground. And yeah, disband KBF. This is an Upuzi federation, similar to what my very good friend and comrade Dikembe says. It's Upuzi federation, and ukweli usemwe, because this trend has continued and carried on even in 2023 and even 2020, and presently what you're going to experience in 2025. So things are not going to be different. And hey, it is what it is. Hopefully, even the Ministry of Sports, or even there's an indictment from the Sport Dispute Tribunal to get these people accountable and ask them to leave office, because at this point even FIBA should come in and intervene, because this is totally unacceptable. These are things that are not supposed to happen. These are things that are not supposed to be experienced by players in this generation. And it was unfortunate that it happened in 2022. And lack of preparation and poor leadership is the problem. And the thing is, all these things are happening with the same leaders who we currently have, and they're still going to ask you for votes again. They're going to bribe delegates and get into power again. They are in charge of this mediocrity and perjury. This, whatever the Kenya Morans experienced this year, the officials that were there presently, and they were actively there. So when they get called up to interviews, make sure to bring up these questions, because if you ask them these questions, you can be able to get clarity, because they are the ones who know what really happened behind the scenes. But anyway, it is what it is. So like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Team Morans, we're here against all odds.
Morans to the world. Yes, sir.